Welcome to the Saturday edition of the Box Seat. I'm Adam McGrath and joined by Mark Olmos. Mark, 8 races to take a look at and a fair bit of rain expected as well.
Yes, and no listed races this week, Adam, but there could be with some of the fields we've got lined up. It's some cracking races in there.
Really looking forward to the race. And let's take a look at the conditions that we are going to be faced with. The movable rail is out 9 metres, and as we said, there is some strong winds and rain expected. So make sure you got your umbrellas and your ponchos and do your wet weather form, because if this all the weather comes as expected, it's going to get very wet at Belmont Park. Let's take a look at race number 1. It is over the 1,000 metres for the 2-year-olds, and I'm really impressed with the field that's in front of us here.
Yeah, not a bad field of 2-year-olds here, Adam. A few unlucky ones, as we were talking about just previously, but we'll go straight into the replay of the only winner of the field. Number 8, Speedy Ladidi.
The home straight, 370 left to go. Super fine over on the outside of Speedy Ladidi. And now Acquaintance quickly collars them both. It's Acquaintance at the 200 going to the front, but Speedy Ladidi is kicking. It's Speedy Ladidi on the inside of Acquaintance. Speedy Ladidi breaks away from Acquaintance, super fine, and it'll be a first up win for Speedy Ladidi. Won it by a length and 3/4 Acquaintance.
It's a really good performance there by Speedy Ladidi. The conditions really suited. I've got question marks still around those form lines though. Going into the race, she had struggled on a few occasions. Look, she won that by 2 lengths, but the horse that finished third was disappointing at Belmont on Wednesday. Acquaintance running around Thursday as well, so it'll be interesting to see how they hold up. But I'm just not sure if its top-end form lines are good enough to match some of the others in this race, but winning form is good form.
Yeah, there's a few different levels of that race, as you mentioned, with the format of it. Speedy Ladidi is probably in between, and then the rest are below her, and then there's a few above her, especially as she's come out of the Gimcrack Stakes. Number 2, Next Generation. Now, I'm really keen on this galloper. It's opened up at about $12. Its last 2 starts, it's just had no luck being caught out wide, and if it gets a reasonable run, it's drawn 11 and 8 its last 2 starts, gets barrier 3, bit of cover, settles, blinkers off. I think it can really finish off strong here.
There's a horse I was a really big fan of last campaign. It just seemed to do a lot right. It was put together well, and as an early runner, it had a bit more maturity than some of the others. The form lines around Speeding Comet and the River are really strong. Look, I've been a little bit disappointed so far this campaign, but as you've mentioned, it has excuses. Wide last start as well. The 1,000 metres is a question mark for mine. This horse wants 12. It wants to get there and run on barrier 3, blinkers off. Look, I think it can settle. I can understand the each way light there, especially on its prior form, but it needs to improve.
Genuine excuses, as has Verve de Vega last start behind Hit Tune, just looking for a run. As you mentioned earlier, Jake Casey just stood up and where do I go?
Well, I think this is the best form lines coming into the race. So you're looking at Malawingui on the Terps and Verve de Vega. For the 2 Harrison runners, they had blinkers on in the trials, then the blinkers came off and now they go back on. We're going to see immediate improvement here. For Malawingui, it trialled on a soft track as well, so there's another added bonus. You know that it will get through these conditions. I really wanted to put that one on top, but then I watched the run of Verve de Vega and I watched it probably 5 or 6 times and I couldn't go with the David Harrison horse. This horse was so unlucky, just cluttered up behind. Jake Casey had to stand up on numerous times and he was about to let down, and his horse was travelling a mile better than any other in the race. I've no doubt he would have won the race and won it comfortably as well. Barrier 8's a little bit tricky here, 54 kilos. It's bred very well though. We've seen that mare throw some really nice types here that Sean Casey's trained as well. So I'm expecting this horse to be really hard to beat, and that's the way that I'm going to tip. Number 5, Verve de Vega on top, from 3, Malawingui, 4 on the Terps, and 1, Our Time Will Come.
Yeah, there looks to be a little bit of early speed on this race too, which should suit a horse like my top selection. Number 2, Next Generation. On top of 3, Malawingui, 8, Speedy Ladidi, and 4 on the Terps.
Race number 2 at Belmont Park. It's over to 1,650 metres, and I think the top 4 in this field, I haven't seen your selections, but I think they're much better than the rest of the field. But those top 4 are going to be very competitive, and we've seen that in recent Saturday fields, that it's hard to separate.
Yeah, completely agree, Adam. Also Gloryland, who we give another chance to again this start. Let's go back and have a look at the replay horse though, the favourite, Universal Law.
From on the outside, Futurism, Flying Image, Rare Selection going for a narrow run, switching back to the fence. Tangier runs on. Universal Law's finally got to the outside. He's starting to come now with his run. Tangier hits the front. Universal Law closing the margin with 100 left to go. He races up. Going with him now is the Flirt, but Universal Law draws clear. Pike gets his first winner home for the afternoon.
Good performance there by Universal Law. I was able to pick them up on that occasion, win by over a length. He's a confusing galloper though. So many times during a run he looks to be in trouble, he doesn't travel well, and then all of a sudden he knuckles down and attacks the line. I know they have a really good opinion of this galloper. They're talking big things about it. 3 from 3 at the track, 1 from 1 at the track in distance now of that performance last start. Still very green, still learning as well, but I think there's enough speed in this race with Gloryland being in it that Universal Law can relax, stretch out nicely and attack the line. Has a good record on a soft track as well. Look, it'll be short. I don't know if it should be that short, but it should be winning.
Yeah, after Delicacy as well, we know he's probably not as good as her, but definitely has ability and has a good record on the soft as well. Has 2 starts for a win and a second, so should be right in this. And we'll go to the top of the page. Galaxy Sun has, yeah, I think it's a little bit of overs, Adam. 480 it's opened up and potentially could have gone a lot closer to Tradesman last start.
Yeah, Galaxy Sun's an expert at Belmont Park and loves the wet as well. 4 attempts for 2 victories and a third. Clean Johnson Porter gets on so well with this horse. Has had 5 rides for 2 victories and 2 thirds as well. The Tradesman form's good. Look, it goes up in weight, 1.5 kilos as well, but this is a much weaker assignment. And just if Universal Law got too far back and didn't travel as well, it can't afford to give Galaxy Sun too much time because it'll just pick them up and go. So I think Galaxy Sun's a really good each-way bet in the race.
Number 4 as well, Another Vision comes out of that Tradesman race as well. Now, this galloper was scratched on Wednesday for, well, it would have won that race easy, I think. Comes to this, a much tougher assignment, but look, has won in the soft before as well.
Yeah, look, it has, and as you mentioned, with scratch, they're pretty confident. The biggest concern here for mine is the weight. So, although actually losing to the other runs, it now meets Galaxy Sun 2.5 kilos worse than Sasso Circus 3 kilos worse with the senior rider taking the ride. So, I really like Another Vision. It's won on a soft track, but the weight, I think, will just be the difference. And that is why I will be tipping number 3, Universal Law, from 1, Galaxy Sun, 2, Sasso Circus, and 4, Another Vision.
I've got the 3 on top of favourite, Adam. Universal Law on top of 1, Galaxy Sun, 4, Another Vision, and number 5, Gloryland.
Race number 3 at Belmont Park. It is for our 3-year-olds. It's over the 1,200 metres, and there's a fair bit of class going around in this field. And I know a lot of people will be waiting to see if Vega Magic can turn the tables and get this result that we all expected first up.
Yeah, after being beaten by Brisanto, and wasn't she brilliant on that occasion? Let's have a look at that replay last start. Brisanto winning at Belmont.
In the straight, 350 left to go. The hot pot led them. Vega Magic snuck 2.5 lengths. River Dance, who's come to the end of his day. Brisanto runs on. Mystic Maid, followed by Lord Conrad. Further back, Shady Grey. 150 to go. The filly Brisanto comes at Vega Magic. It's gone. Brisanto races up, grabs the lead, and Brisanto too good. Brisanto,
it's a really good performance here by Brisanto. Look, it was favoured by the runner. The stewards, when investigating Vega Magic, decided in that first 600 metres they went 6 lengths quicker than the average pace. So it's set up perfectly for a horse like Brisanto. But I love the way she travelled. Look, she'd won over the 1,200 metres previously with Patrick Carberry riding, but it was hard riding, and Patrick really had to dig her up. Here, Lucy just sat there quietly, as we've seen her do so many times. She just responded nicely. The bar plates come off here. There will be speed again. And look, I think the weight difference isn't ideal. 1.5 kilo advantage to Vega Magic now. But from what we've seen, this filly, she's very tough. She likes the wet as well, and she can get the job done.
She just showed last start as well that she's not one-dimensional. Her first 2 wins earlier in the prep, she grinded out those 2 wins, and as you mentioned, took a sit last start and was just brilliant on that occasion. We'll take a sit, I think, on this occasion as well, probably settle back on the fence, and Fit should be finishing off really, really nicely. At the top of the weights, as you mentioned, Adam, Vega Magic now, this galloper, he just looked, I don't know what happened last start, to be honest.
Yeah, look, he was brilliant. He's a big horse. But at the end of the day, there's only so much horses can do as well. And as we said, going out 6 lengths faster than the average time through the first 600 metres, it was going to catch up first up. He's a big horse. He needs time to wide in. Jake Casey, obviously might have done things a little bit differently this time. I don't think the same error will happen here. I don't think there's any concerns about the track or how this horse is going to go. And I think it'll be winning and winning well as well. There'll be no chances taken here, and expecting a really good performance by Vega Magic.
Number 9, Presenter Tie, goes around in the Cerise and White again. Now, first up over 1,000 metres, certainly wasn't suited and opened up a ridiculously short price favourite, which a lot of people, including myself, got sucked into. And Bob Peters on radio earlier in the morning of that race said, can't believe how short she is, it's just ridiculous. She gets out to 1,200 metres where both of her wins have been over, gets time to wind up. Look, she'd have excuses on that occasion, but she still wouldn't have won, but today looks a much more winnable race for her.
Yeah, it was amazing, isn't it, the Cerise and White, how it opened up. The trial was only fair, Presenter Ty, but all of a sudden the hype was a massive going into it. I thought it was a good run, as you mentioned, didn't do a lot wrong, came across heels and was able to work in the straight. Now, the step up to 1,200 metres is ideal, the speed in the race is ideal. Back to 3-year-old company is a big key for mine. This horse raced against some very nice types, the likes of Rule to Win, Travel, and these types are very competitive. So back in the age group category, I think Presenter Ty can run a race, and I think it'll be right in the mix. I'm going to tip number 1, Vega Magic though, from number 9, Presenter Ty, 2, Brisanto, and 4, Juendus.
Number 9 on top for me, Adam. Presenter Ty from 2, Brisanto, 7, Jester Jingle, and 1, Vega Magic.
Race 4, it's Australia, race number 8 for our Singapore viewers over the 1,000 metres. You said at the top we don't have many listed races, but this is one that can fall right into the category.
Yeah, it's a cracking race, Adam. We'll go straight into the replay of last start winner. 3-year-old filly, Military Rain.
Lever wider out ahead of Classical Prince, and under pressure last is Hold Your Tongue. Military Rain, though, boots away from them. At the 250, Pike went for home. She led by 2 lengths. Windswept sticks on. A further 2 or 3 Rule to Win. He draws the whip. Military Rain with 100 left to go. Windswept trying to get to her. She wants to run up the track a little here, Military Rain. She certainly did drift, but she won it.
Brilliant performance by her last start. Look, William Pike's at the start before. She didn't quite feel right when she was beaten 2 lengths by Born Supremacy. But she was back last start, beating Windswept by 1.5 lengths after doing all of the work out in front and just kicking clear. Now, she drops weight. She's got a good track and distance record. She's won on a soft track, and her times are good enough to win this race again. From barrier 2, she leads. I think Dawn Approaches comes and sits outside of her, but as long as these two don't go too crazy out in front, which there is the chance of, I think she just wins the race on times and the way she's been going.
Absolutely. I've said it the last few runs, I'm worried about her taking on older horses, but she seems to handle it with no issue at all. William Pike gets on really well with her. And as you mentioned, you've mentioned a bit, these universal ruler fillies and mares don't seem to handle carrying weight. This one does, and she goes really well. We'll have a look as well at number 7, Zakeros. Now, I really think that this horse has opened up over the odds. It's opened up at about $17, and look, 1,400 back down to 1,000. We'll need the speed on. I think it gets it here. Take a nice sit and should be finishing off for mine.
Yeah, Zuccaros just did my head in, to be honest, when I did the form. If you can see on my page, I've had it in the numbers, I've taken it out of the numbers. It was a hard animal to analyse because you take a look at the track and distance record, it's good. It loves the soft track. It rocks up with snorkels and that, although last time it had a soft 7, it was really disappointing, so that made it a bit trickier. It gets really good weight. So it was only beaten a nose by Ron School, gets 3 kilos on that from 2 starts to go to the 1,200 metres. Just worried now that this 6-year-old's getting a little bit older, that he's lost that turn of foot and those wins over the 1,000 metres. They were a bit early on in the career. If the speed is on, which we can have with Dawn Approach, Secret Nova, Military Rain, look, it can be flashing home late, but I just think it's going to run out of distance in the race.
Probably have a look at the selections, Adam.
Let's get straight into them. Number 8, Military Rain for mine, from 2, Ron's Call, 6, Secret Nova, and 1, Dawn Approach.
For me, I've got 7, Zakeros on top of 8, Military Rain, 1, Dawn Approach, and 3, Dutton.